How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you do like Destiny 2 builds that go straight into the point, no BS whatsoever, consider subscribing and also hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it, and let's get right into it. And if you want to try out the builds for yourself, the dim link will also be in the link of the description. The exotic armor piece you're going to use for the hunter is the Star Eater Scales. And the armor perk for this leg armor is called Feast of Light. You gain additional super energy from orbs of power you pick up. While your super energy is full, picking up an orb of power overcharges your super, causing you to gain a burst of healing when cast and a bonus to your super damage. At maximum overcharge, you also gain an overshield. So once your super is full, you can be able to collect 4 extra orbs to increase your damage output for your super. And to tie that exotic leg armor, you're going to be using the hunter subclass called Arc Strider with the super called Gathering Storm. The base cooldown is 8 minutes and 20 seconds, but we can be able to decrease the time with these mods that I'm going to show you later. Now let's head to the abilities. For the class ability, you're going to be using Gambler's Dodge because you perform to dodge a deft tumble, avoiding enemy attacks. When dodging near enemies, fully recharges your melee ability. For the movement ability, you can choose any of the movement abilities you would like, but for me, I prefer using triple jump. For the arc melee, you're going to be using combination blow. Defeating targets with this ability also fully refills your class ability energy and restores a small amount of health. So you're going to be dodging to get your melee, and as you have your melee, kill that enemy in front of you, and as you're doing so, you refill your class ability, so you keep rinsing and repeating. Now for the arc grenade, you're going to be using the pulse grenade, a grenade that periodically damages targets within its explosion radius. Now onto the 2 aspects you're going to be using. The first arc aspect is called the lethal current. After dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging any jolted targets with melee attacks also blinds them. Jolted. The target is energized with destructive arc light. They take additional damage while jolted and chain lightning to nearby targets. Jolt damage causes overload champions to be stunned. Blind. Combatants are disoriented and cannot fire their weapon. When blinded, unstoppable champions are stunned. So now you have 2 ways to stun champions. The first one is overload by dodging and then meleeing him, and you can do the same thing to unstoppable champions. Dodge and melee at that unstoppable champion to stun them. The second arc aspect is flow state. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you are more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. Amplified. Your movement speed and weapon handling are greatly increased. After sprinting for a short time, your movement speed is further increased. Rapidly defeating targets with arc damage makes you amplified. Now let's head to the fragments. You're going to be using 4 fragments. Starting with the first fragment, it's called Spark of Magnitude. Your lingering arc grenades have extended duration. The second arc fragment, it's Spark of Shock. Your arc grenades jolt targets, so you have 2 ways to stun overload champions, is by using your pulse grenade, or you would dodge and melee towards that overload champion. The third arc fragment is Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. The fourth and final arc fragment is Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage. Now let's head to the weapons. Starting with the kinetic weapon, you're going to be using a shotgun. Here's are the perks that you should be using for this shotgun. The first one is auto-loading holster. The holstered weapon is automatically reloaded after a short period of time, and the main perk that benefits from this build for the shotgun is 1-2 punch. Hitting an enemy with every pellet in a shotgun increases the melee damage for a short duration, and you can also craft this shotgun as well. Now let's head to the energy weapon. For the energy weapon, I'm using a auto rifle called Sweet Sorrow. It's a arc auto rifle, and the perks that I chose because it's crafted, I chose triple tap. Rapidly landing precision hits will return 1 round to the magazine. And the second perk is Vorpal Weapon. Increased damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians with their supers active. Why I chose an auto rifle? Because in this season, you can choose anti-barrier auto rifle. So you can be able to stun anti-barrier champions. And with your super, you can also stun unstoppable champions because you blind them with your melee. And you can stun overload champions because of your grenades or your melee as well. So now you can be able to stun all all champions with this build. Now let's head to the power weapon. For the power weapon, you're going to be using an exotic shotgun called the tractor cannon. And here's what it does. For the intrinsic trait, it's called repulsor force. This weapon emits a powerful impulse that pushes enemies away, suppresses their abilities, and makes them more vulnerable to all incoming damage. And here's the weapon perk for the tractor cannon. It's called the scientific method. Damaging an opponent temporarily increases speed and handling. And if you do have the catalyst for the tractor cannon, here's what it does. All it does is that it increases your ammo reserves. So if you really want to optimize for this build, this is what you have to do. First, dodge near an enemy and then pull your tractor cannon, hit them with the tractor cannon, and as soon as you do that, switch to your shotgun and then shoot them with the shotgun, and as soon as you shoot them, melee them, and rinse and repeat. And here's are the seasonal mods that you should be using. The first one is anti-barrier auto rifle, because it can be able to stun anti-barrier champions with your auto rifle. The next one is authorized mod arc. It discounts the energy cost for arc weapons. And the next one is authorized mod void. It significantly discounts your void energy mods. Then the last authorized mod you'll need to use is authorized mod melee. It significantly discounts any melee mods from your armor. The first artifact that would buff your arc is called electric armor. Stay amplified longer while your arc subclass is active, so now you can be able to be amplified for 20 seconds. The second one is thunderous retort. Grants bonus arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or while amplified. Last until the end of the super activation. So now you can be able to buff your gathering storm even more. The next one is counter charge. Gain a stack of armor charge when stunning a champion. This one doesn't really buff your arc build, but it really comes in clutch when you need an armor charge when stunning a champion. The next one is amped up. Gain damage resistance while amplified. And the last two mods that you're going to be needing is the first one, shock and awe. Arc final blows while you are amplified summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. And the last one is lightning strikes twice. After throwing an arc grenade, gain increased grenade recharge for a short time. Arc final blows extend the duration of this benefit. Now let's head to the armor, starting with the helmet. The first two armor mods you're going to be using is hands-on. Gain bonus super energy on melee kills. The third and final armor mod for the helmet is dynamo. Reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets. Now let's head to the gauntlets. The first armor mod you're going to be using is firepower. Your grenade final blow creates an orb of power. The second armor mod you're going to be using for the gauntlet is impact induction. Causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. The third and final mod for the gauntlets is heavy-handed. Your powered melee final blows creates an orb of power. Now let's head to the chest. First mod for the chest is harmonic resistance. Reduces incoming arc damage from combatants. The second armor mod is charged up. Increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. So instead of holding 3 armor charges, you can now carry 4. And the last mod for the chest armor is solar resistance. Reduces incoming solar damage from combatants. You can also change what resist mods you will like, and it varies on the activity you're playing. Now it's for the exotic leg armor. The first armor mod you're going to be using is innervation. Reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. The second leg armor mod you're going to be using is called kinetic weapon surge. Your kinetic weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charges now decay over time. And the third armor mod for the leg armor is recuperation. Replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power, because usually for arc there really isn't any healing buffs that you will receive, but having recuperation helps you survive even longer. Now for the final armor piece is the hunter cloak. Of course, the first armor mod you're going to be using is bomber. Reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. The second armor mod is reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. And the third and final mod is powerful attraction. Automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So for this build, you're mainly going to be dodging and meleeing, but to buff it even more, use your tractor cannon to debuff the enemy, and as you do that, use your shotgun to hit him once to buff your melee even more. Once doing so, melee that target and he will be demolished into oblivion. And for your super, be sure to have your super full, and as it's full, collect 4 orbs of power to increase the damage of your gathering storm. If you'd enjoyed this build, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe. We are so close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, and the more people that will subscribe to the channel motivates me to make more Destiny 2 builds.